Hi, I'm making this little Bedfordshire bookmark from Introduction to Bedfordshire Lace by Jean Leader. It's a Lace Guild booklet, the Lace Guild in the UK of course, and I've been adding colours to my tallies and then using a magic thread to get rid of the ends instead of working them through a trail or whipping them, because after I've finished each one of them I don't need the colour again, so I wanted to hide it inside the tally. So I'm using a magic thread, which is just a loop of thread, as thin and as strong as you can get, not at one end. You can just see it, doesn't matter which end, which sort. And I'm using the opposite end. This is just one way of doing it. And I will wind that little bit round. There's no need to twist it or anything, and just give it a hitch. So that's, well, it would be if it had stayed on. Just do that again. Happens perfectly when you're not videoing this, of course. Right, there we go. And what I will do with this is just simply put a pin in the knotted end of the loop, and where I'm going to place it is I want this bobbin to match the length of the bobbins that I'm using for the tally, which I usually shorten. So I need it that long, so I'll just put it a little bit. It doesn't matter where you pin it, but try and get it going in the same angle as you're working the tally so that it doesn't try and twist to one side or the other. And that will probably do absolutely fine. And this one will be moved at exactly the same time as its partner one, which is the centre, which is the coloured pair. So I usually choose to keep it on the left, just for my own personal preference, because that way you've got a system working, and the others, which are the pairs that are going to continue into the ground, the white pairs, are left on the outside, and they don't get involved with all this. So I just work the tally as normal. Now I've added my magic thread right at the very, very beginning here. But what I've found is that if I leave it and just get a couple of the wraps done first to get that nice tight start to the leaf, 2 or 3 usually does it. This is a much narrower thread, coloured thread I'm using than the thread I'm using on the tally. But I've found that if I just give it a little few around that top, the magic thread still comes out nice and neat near the centre, but I have a nice tight beginning to the leaf, instead of, as you can see, when you add that, you're effectively adding 2 extra threads into that middle weave. So I'll just carry on. Now this has become one thread, sorry. I'll just carry on, make sure that the first ones are snuggled up. Where you've just seen that magic thread added in, that is where it will be coming out. So I thought better to give it a little bit of easement at the top. A lot of these techniques are experimental because they vary from pillow to pillow, thread to thread, and the way that you actually tension yourself. Right, so obviously you carry on and make the tally all the way down. This is a very fine thread, so I won't make you wait till I've done all this. I'll put that to one side because in the best Blue Peter fashion I have one ready, and I'm just making sure that I pin the spangles separately on the worker so that that worker is left loose, so I can just go back and do it. If I twist my pillow around, this is the one that I am working on this pair, on this side. I've got it's a green thread for this one, that's where I've pinned this one, working in this line. And I've got practically to the bottom, there's my dark red thread, there's my green magic thread, and here's the worker thread going around. So I'm going through, and when I get to this side, on the opposite side to the magic thread, I actually make a knot. There's probably good cause not to make the knot, but I am the kind of girl who likes to keep putting knots in things, so I do a little knot there. Now these two are finished with, so I need to get rid of them. So I just lengthen these to about the same length and cut them off. I've given myself about 4 or 5 inches, just enough. And this bobbin that's been carrying the magic thread alongside the centre coloured thread, I'm taking the bobbin off that. And what I will do is use another pin and just find the centre of that double thread. You can probably see this a lot easier than me because I've come away from the... I don't have my magnifier of my work, I need the camera of my work. So I've pulled that so that I get the loop at the end. Now the trick is that when you pull this thread, maybe I need to make it a little bit smaller so that you can see what's happening with the other bits. Right, I'm taking the pin out, there's my knot, but I'm holding the loop open so that all the twists go inside and out of the other side, so there are now no twists on this loop. That seems to be quite important. Now the thread, the 2 threads that are left, I'm putting through that loop. So there's the green thread going that way, here's the red thread going that way, and I'll zoom in for this bit. There you go, that's the green thread. These are the red threads, and I pull this. What I'm doing is my hand is actually on the 4 white bobbins, so I'm not pulling, and you'll see the green is pulling that red thread up. Now this is the bit where it can get stuck, so a gentle pull. Oh, that's gone straight through. What a good advert. If it gets stuck and it doesn't seem to want it, just bring it back, make sure there are no twists, and put your finger on the leaf itself and pull through, and you can feel it come underneath, but that will stop your tally actually being distorted, and just pull it through. If it's really not going through, then consider, is your thread thin enough? Have you got a twist? Is the knot getting in the way? But watch the threads come through. You can see on this end that there's your join there. Right, get rid of the magic thread. These are the little ends. Finish pulling them through. Don't overdo it, because remember, although there is a knot on there, one of these is the worker, and if you pull it too hard you can distort it. Now that is right up at the very top. I'm not going to cut this thread for the one that I've laid across it, but that would just simply be snipped off very, very close to the tally up there, and that has disappeared it. What you are left with, however, is a little gap between these here, so before it goes into anything else, I usually just put a cross stitch across, or even just a cross twist, depending what you're doing with it. This will be going into the ground, into the trail, sorry, and swallowed up and laid out, so that is absolutely enough for that job there. And the other one, obviously do the same thing. And if I zoom in on one of these so that you can see that they are actually disappeared, there you go, using all the different colours. If the thread was needed somewhere else, I would have simply taken the coloured thread through and wrapped it with this thread, and then that same colour would have come into this if I were carrying it along, so that it stayed on the outside. There's a separate video with that already showing, but for the time being, this is a Jean Leader design from the Lace Guild, Bedfordshire Lace book, and that is my final leaf on this pattern. Okay, hope that helped.